Hello and welcome to the BYU Family History Library webinar. We're glad you could join us today. I'm Olivia Tuller and I'll be your host for this webinar. If you have technical difficulties during the webinar, please use the chat box and I can address your concerns. You are welcome to use the chat box during the webinar for comments, insights, and questions. However, all questions will be addressed at the end of the presentation. Our next webinar is on September 15th with Maureen Brady. She will be giving a presentation entitled The Family History Research Circle, the Internet Family Search Family History Centers, Libraries, and On-Site Research. If you would like to access a previous webinar, please visit our webinar index on our website or search on our YouTube channel. All of our webinars are recorded and uploaded by the following Monday for your convenience. We also post links to recordings and other updates on our Facebook and Twitter accounts. For today's webinar, we are pleased to hear from Larry Jensen, who will be giving a presentation on German reference and research tools. This is a pre-recorded lecture and Larry's contact information will be provided at the end of the presentation for any questions. Before we begin, here's a little bit about Larry. He has a Bachelor of Science from Brigham Young University and is an author of a genealogical handbook of German research. He was the co-author of Maps of the German Empire of 1871 and co-editor of German Genealogical Digest. Larry is retired with 35 years work experience with the Salt Lake Family History Library.
Welcome to the second in a series of 10 lectures on German genealogical research. In this lecture, I'll be talking about various types of printed and reference and research tools. And I will be focusing on the following topics: archives and inventories, biographies and biographical indexes, chronology resources, encyclopedias, given names, handbooks and guides, handwriting, locality histories, locality name changes, maps and atlases, occupations, periodicals and periodical indexes, terminology or surname sources, and then terminology and abbreviations and terminology dictionaries. The records and resources covered in this presentation will be given as they are listed in this handout titled Advanced German Reference and Research Tools. This handout is an annotated bibliography that provides additional information on the sources being cited. Several resources are listed under each topic. The contents and use of some are more helpful than others and are marked with an asterisk. For example, under the topic of archives and repositories, of the 10 resources listed, only 5 have an asterisk. And that's because the 5 with an asterisk provide more information about the records and resources found in archives. In this example, the first resource listed here is written in German, but it does not give archive holdings. The second one does give some information on archive holdings. It is written in German and has instructions in English. The third one covers Eastern and Western Europe. It's written in German and it gives archive holdings. So let's talk about archives and archive inventories. Because of lecture time restraints, I will focus on some of those record and resources that I have found to be especially helpful and important. Archive inventories help to answer 5 important questions about record and resource availability. These questions are: what records exist, what time periods they cover, what information they contain, where they are housed, and how to use them in doing genealogical and historical research. This is Minerva, Handbücher, Archive im deutschsprachigen Raum, archives in German-speaking areas. This is one of the best resources for identifying archives and their holdings. It even includes areas of Germany that were lost to other countries after World War I and World War II. At the beginning of the book, there is a table of contents. First, it gives a list of Abkürzungen, or abbreviations that are used in this resource. Next is a list of archives in alphabetical order by locality name. This is followed by a systematic register, then a geographical register. In the back of the resource is an alphabetical locality index. A list of Kreisarchive or district archives is found in the systematic register. The first district on the list is Ahrweiler. When looking up Ahrweiler in the Family History Library catalog, The first subject heading is Archives and Libraries, Inventories, Registers, and Catalogs. It shows that Archival has a city archive that has records that cover the time period from 1228 to 1795. Under the geographical register, there are various government and nobility geographical areas. Within those areas are other locality archives. For example, in the city of Rochefort, it has a district archive, a city archive, a land archive of the superintendent of the Lutheran churches of Lauenburg, and a church archive. Next is a list of archives found in the modern German states. Under the state of Saarland, the free city of Saarbrücken is found with 6 types of archives, including a land archive, district archive, city archive, upper post office archive, an industrial archive, and a broadcasting and sound archive. This shows that if a town has any kind of an archive, it will be listed in this resource. The most important part of this resource book is the section with the alphabetical list of localities and their archive holdings. This part pertains to the Lower Saxony Main State Archive of Hanover. This is the largest archive in the Hanover area. The first paragraph provides information about the archive. It gives its address, phone number, the use of the archive, and the days and hours it is open. The next section provides a Geschichte, or history of the archive. Next is a section called the Bestände, or holdings. It lists the records and resources for nobility and government areas kept in this archive. For example, in the Fürstentum, which is a principality, in the Fürstentum of Celle, there are 13,600 records and resources dating from 956 to 1850. This archive also kept the records of Hanover when it was a Kurfürstentum, or electorate, also when it was a Königreich, or a kingdom, and when it was a Prussian province. The holdings also show that there were 3 government districts called Regierungsbezirks, abbreviated on this page as REG period BEZ period. These government districts were Hildesheim, Hanover, and Lüneburg. Every town in the province of Hanover belonged to one of these 3 government districts. And it was on this government level that the immigration and immigration records were kept for each Prussian province. The next archive listed for Hanover is a Stadtarchiv, or a city archive. Again, it provides information concerning the archive, its history, and its holdings. This is followed by the Hanover Lutheran Land Church archive with information on its archive, its history, and holdings. The next resource is Ancestors in German Archives. This excellent book covers the German Federal Republic before the unification of the German Democratic Republic in or East Germany. An alphabetical list of localities with archives is in the back of the book. If your town is listed, or if the government district to which your town belongs is listed, it gives the page it is listed on. In this example, the town of Linden in Hessen is listed on page 409. Turning to page 409, the entry provides contact information along with immigration information and church resources. Linden belonged to the district of Gießen. If we were to look up the district archive for Gießen, it may provide additional information on Linden as well. These next resources are biographies and biographical indexes. This is the pedigree of a Gertrude Berliner Saunders. Her middle name was taken from her mother's maiden name, Berliner. Gertrude's mother's name was Hannah Berliner. She was the daughter of Emil Berliner and his wife, Cora Adler. To look up a biography for Emil Berliner, I will talk about 2 important biographical collections. The first is the Allgemeine Deutsche Biographie, and I will refer to it as the ADB. It is a 56-volume collection of German biographies and the most complete list of published biographies. The last volume As you see here is the general register or index of all of the volumes. This work was published in 1912. The second set of 25 volumes of compiled biographies and is titled Neue Deutsche Biographie, published in 2010. I will refer to it as the NDB. Both are available online. To search these two compiled biographies, we need to search on Harold B. Lee Library-BYU. On this web page, it shows databases. We will click on it. In the search field, I will type Allgemeine and then click on search. This will bring up the title Allgemeine/Neue Deutsche Biographie, ADB, NDB, Digitalis Register. To search both collections, we'll click on the blue printed title. There are two ways this compilation of German biographies can be searched. The first one is when you enter just the surname in the search box under Deutsche Biographie. When the surname Berliner is entered in the search box, it brings up an alphabetical list of every given name of those with that surname, making it easy to go to Emil Berliner and click on it. When the surname Berliner is entered with the given name Emil, by clicking on it, it goes right to that individual. On this page, you can choose to bring up an Übersicht, which is an overview, or a biography article in the NDB. With Emil Berliner, we'll start with the overview. By clicking on the overview, it gives us a synopsis of his life. He was born in Hanover, Germany, and died in Washington, D.C. He was an electrical engineer and an inventor. By clicking on the NDB tab, it takes us to his very short biography. It was mentioned that he was an inventor. This tells us that he was the one who invented the gramophone. Sometimes the NDB and the ADB will contain information on the same individual. This is Jacob Grimm, who with his brother Wilhelm compiled the German fairy tales. First, we'll look him up in the NDB. This is all of the information that's given, which is very little. Now we'll look him up in the ADB, where there was only a small amount of information on Jacob Grimm in the NDB. There are 12 pages of information on him on the ADB. This shows the importance of searching both the NDB and the ADB because they may contain different information. The ADB on the BYU website is written in Roman print. If we went to the original 56 volumes of this resource, the printing is different. Instead of being in Roman print, it's in the old German Fraktur print. The further back you trace the line, the greater the possibility that you may trace back to an ancestor who has a biography. This is Eberhard Ankelmann, who was born in 1641. Under the NDB, it provides his genealogical background, showing the line has been traced back to 1469. It gives the names of his parents, grandparents, and a brother, and a brief life history. At the bottom is a reference to an article about the Ankelmann family, published in the periodical Zeitschrift der Zentralstelle für Niedersächsische Familiengeschichte, the periodical of the Center for Lower Saxony Family History. We have talked about these two compiled biographies, but there are many more. So what are some of the additional biographical collections? This is the Deutsches Biographisches Archiv. This resource is on 1,447 microfiche. It contains 264 of the most important German language biographical reference works published between 1700 and 1910. It contains 480,000 biographical entries covering 213,006 individuals. It is not indexed or alphabetical, but it is indexed in a different resource called the Deutscher Biographischer Index, or the German Biographical Index. What is the Deutscher Biographischer Index? It is a 4-volume work that lists people alphabetically who have a biography, and it identifies the compiled biography or biographies that they are in. At the beginning of the volumes is an alphabetical list of the abbreviation of compiled biographies with the name of each abbreviated source. This is followed by an alphabetical list by surname of people with a biography, giving the source abbreviation for each one. This next resource is a 4-volume work called the Historische Biographisches Lexikon der Schweiz, or the Historical Biographical Encyclopedia of Switzerland. I showed how to use this resource in the first lecture on determining the place of origin of immigrant ancestors. I showed how a county history identified a group of people that arrived in Orangeburg County, South Carolina in 1737, but it did not say where they were from. It did identify the minister, the Reverend John Ulrich Giesendanner, who brought them. By looking up his name in the Historical Biographical Encyclopedia, it showed that he was from the town of Blackville, Switzerland, and it was determined that the people he brought were from the same place. Next, I will talk about a resource that can help with chronology problems. I will not go into much detail on this because this is one of the things that I will be covering in lecture number 5 on cultural aspects of German research. This is a christening record from 1622. Translated, it says, year 1622, on Fastnacht, a child of Tome or Thomas Loch was christened and called Johann. What is the date of Fastnacht? This book, Taschenbuch der Zeitrechnung, or pocketbook for determining chronology, can tell us what Fastnacht means. The title page indicates that it covers the chronology from the German Middle Ages to the present. It identifies the names of special dates called feast dates, including Sundays, weekdays, and other times of the year, as established primarily by the Catholic and Protestant churches. These terms are listed alphabetically. Here it says that Fastnacht occurs on Dienstag, which is Tuesday, after Estomihi. Estomihi is a feast date, that is the 7th Sunday before Easter. Because Fastnacht occurs on a specific weekday, namely Tuesday, and not on a specific calendar date, it is described as a movable feast date. In other words, the date that it occurs on changes from year to year. This is the first page of the handout on deciphering feast dates. In lecture number 5, I will talk about various aspects of understanding German cultural background. I will explain how to use this chart to change a feast date to the actual calendar date. If your ancestor was Protestant, you will learn how to use the Julian calendar in this chart. The Protestants continued to use the Julian calendar up until 1700. At that time, they changed to the Gregorian calendar. So for Protestants, Fastnacht was on March 5th, 1622. Catholics began using the Gregorian calendar in 1582. So for them, the chart would show that Fastnacht was on February 8th, 1622. Concerning dictionaries, I will talk about them, but I have listed them under terminology abbreviations and terminology dictionaries. We will talk about encyclopedias. My second great-grandparents were from Schleswig-Holstein, Germany, from an area called Danischer Wold. This place is not listed in a German gazetteer that lists the names of towns, so it could be either a cultural or a topographical area. To find out, I went to an old German encyclopedia. The best German encyclopedia that I have found is the Myers Konversationslexikon, or the Myers Conversational Encyclopedia. When you look it up in the Family History Library catalog, there are 2 sets by that name. One was published in the 1970s and has 25 volumes. The other was published in the 1880s. The one in the 1880s is best. It is a 16-volume work written in the old German Fraktur. A digitized copy of this is available on Ancestry. So if I wanted to look up Danischer Wold in this encyclopedia, I would log on to Ancestry, click on the search button, and then click on card catalog. Under keywords, I would type in Germany Encyclopedia and then click search. 2 entries come up. The one I want is the Myers Konversationslexikon in German. Under Browse this collection, I will click on Band or volume number 4, China to Distance. On page 527, at the bottom of the left column is the Danischer Wold. The entry says that the Danish Wold was a peninsula in Schleswig-Holstein between Eckernförde and Kiel, as shown on this general map. On this enlargement, there is the Eckernförde at the top, there's Kiel at the bottom, and there is the Danish Wold. As it turned out, my ancestor was from the town of Gettorf, right in the middle of the Danish Wold. Gazetteers are a major resource in German research. A knowledge of gazetteers is critical in determining what records exist and where the record offices are for parish, vital, court, and military records, as well as for the record offices for government districts, county, and regional records. The next lecture will be on understanding German records and jurisdiction. The use of gazetteers will be discussed in detail in that lecture. Genealogies and genealogical collections should be one of the first things a researcher checks to prevent duplicating research already done. The importance and use of compiled genealogies and genealogical collections will be covered in lecture number 7. Among the resources that will be covered in that lecture are, first of all, the Ahnenstammkartei des Deutschen Volkes, the ancestral pedigree index of the German people. It has between 5 and 6 million names. Also, we'll talk about Mappenstücke that has 30,000 envelopes with family documents. We'll talk about the Deutsche Geschlechterbücher, the German lineage books, with over 215 volumes of compiled genealogies. We'll talk about the Deutsches Familienarchiv that has 156 volumes. We'll talk about locality and family lineage books that include Dorf and Ortszippenbücher that are found in the Salt Lake Family History Library, and the Ortsfamilienbücher that's found online under GenWiki. The next resource pertains to Vornamen or given names. The spelling and form of a given name can often identify the area of Germany it's found in. When I talk about understanding the German culture in lecture number 5, I will talk about Germanic and Slavic, and High and Low German, and their effect on names. In looking up Vornamen or given names, one of the best books to use is Hans and Grete. The book is in 2 parts, with male names listed together and females are listed separately. The book gives the etymology and variation of given names. This example shows 2 forms of the given name of Gondolf and Gongolf, with the same origin as the name werewolf. This also includes the given name of Wolfgang. Handbooks and guides. In the handbook, several different handbooks and guides have been listed. The Family History Library catalog lists over 200 handbooks on German research. In addition, it shows that there are handbooks for nearly every nobility and provincial area. There are several very good published works listed on the handout on reading and deciphering German handwriting. This one, Deciphering Handwriting in German Documents by Roger Meinert, is one of them. Historical changes in areas. We are talking about resources that identify when changes occurred in nobility and provincial areas. From the title, Historisches Lexikon der deutschen Länder, or the Historical Encyclopedia of German Lands, the term lands can pertain to nobility, provincial, and to the modern government areas that they became. It describes how these areas changed over time. Using the nobility area of Nassau as an example, right after its name, it begins by listing the different types of nobility and government areas that it became, namely a Grafschaft or county and a Herzogtum, a duchy. After this, it shows historically that it became a Grafschaft when the ruler assumed the title of Graf or Count between 1159 and 1160. It became a Herzogtum or a duchy ruled by a duke in 1816. And in 1866, it became a part of the Prussian province of Hessen-Nassau. The importance of understanding these changes will be explained in the next lecture on understanding German records and jurisdiction. Locality name changes. As a result of 2 world wars, Germany lost several areas of the German Empire to other countries. This map shows the areas of Germany that were lost after World War I. Northern part of Schleswig-Holstein went to Denmark. The Open-Malmedy area in Western Rhineland went to Belgium. The Alsace-Lothringen area went to France. Part of the Prussian province of Schlesien went to the Czech Republic. Other parts of Schlesien, along with most of Posen and West Preußen, went to Poland. The northeast part of Ostpreußen or East Prussia went to Lithuania. These changes resulted in the change of a town's name in almost all of these areas. To look up one of these towns on a modern map, or if you need to write for the records of one of these towns, you will need to know the new foreign name of it. After World War I, the gazetteer to use to determine a town's modern is the Deutsch Fremdsprachiges Ortsnamenverzeichnis, or the German to foreign locality name register. It is arranged by country. For each country, the first section lists the German town alphabetically, followed by its new foreign name. In the second section, it lists the foreign town alphabetically, followed by the German. This gazetteer is digitized on the Family History Library microfilm number 590387. The following is a list of the areas that Germany lost after World War I and the countries to which they now belong. The page number that is given pertains to the page of the gazetteer where the towns for each country are listed alphabetically. The image number will take you to that beginning page number on the microfilm for each area. Using the town of Albrechtshof as an example, the Myers Gazetteer entry shows that it was in the Prussian province of Posen, which is now in Poland. On the right is the title page of the Deutsch Fremd Gazetteer. We see that there are two Albrechtshofs listed, so which one is the one we need? Looking at the Myers entry right above it, it shows that Albrechtshof that we are looking for belongs to the district of Zamter. The Deutsch Fremd Gazetteer shows that the first Albrechtshof belonged to the district of Zamter. So from this, we now know that this is the Polish name of this town. After World War II, the light purple colored area went to Poland. The orange area of Ostpreußen on the upper right went to Russia. The Gazetteer Amtliches Gemeinde- und Ortsnamenverzeichnis der deutschen Ostgebiete und der fremder Verwaltung is the gazetteer that provides the German to Polish name after World War II. It has been microfilmed and digitized on the Family History Library microfilm number 824243, item number 2. This book begins on the microfilm on image number 124. This part of the book is an alphabetical list of towns that went to Poland after World War II. In order to show the comprehensiveness of this resource, I'm using the very small locality of Tingen, T-I-N-G-E-N, shown in this Myers Gazetteer entry. It is so small that after its name, it gives a C reference to the next larger town of Gallingen that is close to it as shown on this map. In this entry, the first column of this register identifies the name of the German town. There you can see Tingen. The third column says Gemeinde, meaning parish or church, and it shows that the parish for Tingen was in Gallingen. The fourth column says Kreis or district, and it shows that Tingen belonged to the district of Bartenstein. The sixth column shows the foreign name for Tingen is Tinga, T-Y-N-G-A. The last column gives the foreign name of the district that Tinga belongs to, which is the Polish name for Bartenstein. The last resource for determining foreign locality names pertains to an area in the Prussian province of East Preußen that went to Russia after World War II. There is a U.S. resource called the U.S. Office of Geography, USSR, in certain neighboring areas, official standard names approved by the U.S. Board on Geographic Names. It is a 7-volume work that is digitized on the following Family History Library microfilms. The towns are listed alphabetically, followed by the word C, S-E-E, followed by the new Russian name of the town. The POPL abbreviation is an abbreviation for the town or populated area. This is given because this gazetteer identifies more than just towns. It also identifies topographical areas and features topographical areas and features as can be seen by this partial list. It then gives the latitude and the longitude of the town or topographical feature. I remember when a patron came into the Salt Lake Family History Library with what they thought was the name of the town that their German ancestor was from. They had not been able to find the place on any German map. Using the US Board on Geographic Names for Germany, it turned out that the name was not a town, but the name of a small lake that was in the area where the ancestors lived. By using the latitude and longitude that was given in this gazetteer, the lake was located on a detailed map, and the surrounding parishes were identified and checked, and the ancestor was found. There are additional US Board on Geographic Name gazetteers for nearly every country of the world. The following are the ones that pertain to Germany or to the countries that were former German areas with their family history microfilm numbers. Having a good knowledge and understanding on the use of German maps and atlases is necessary to be effective in German genealogical research. In lecture number 6 on maps and atlases, I will go into more detail on the use of different maps. Among the maps that I will talk about is this auto atlas, published in the early 1990s. It pertains to modern Germany and has a map scale of 1 to 200,000, which means 1 centimeter equals 2 kilometers. This is der Große Arajaxe Jubiläumsatlas. It also pertains to modern Germany, but it has a scale of 1 to 100,000. It is twice as detailed as the previous auto atlas. Maps of the German Empire of 1871. This includes a separate general map and a brief history of each nobility and provincial area. A free digitized copy of this book of maps will be made available to you as one of the handouts for this lecture. Karte des Deutschen Reiches, or maps of the 1871 German Empire. This is a detailed set of 674 maps with a map scale of 1 to 100,000. It is accessible on Ancestry.com, and its use will be explained in lecture number 6. The Westermanns Großer Atlas zur Weltgeschichte is one of the best world history atlases. The current publication is just called Großer Atlas zur Weltgeschichte. It identifies historically the changes that occurred worldwide. It is especially helpful in showing the changes that occurred in German nobility and provincial areas. Although written in German, it is easy to use. Occupations. This book, Alphabetisches Verzeichnis der Berufs- und Standesbezeichnungen, is an alphabetical listing of German occupations. It covers a period from the Middle Ages to the present time. The example on the right gives the occupation of Holzmanger with an additional name of Holzhändler for its occupation. It then provides the Latin name Lignarius for it. It is written in German and Latin. Using a German-English dictionary, it shows that the terms Holzmanger and Holzhändler mean a wood or timber merchant. Periodicals and periodical indexes are some of the least known, least understood, and least used resources. They include family histories, compiled genealogies, pedigree charts, record extractions, and instructions on solving research problems. The following are instructions on how to access online 4 webinar lectures on using German periodicals and periodical indexes. Step 1 is to click on the following website. Step 2 is to click on the webinar categories. Step 3, we click on foreign country webinars. Near the bottom of the list are 4 lectures on using German periodicals and periodical indexes. These lectures, handouts, and instructions are provided to teach you how to access an online database that lists over 600 German periodicals. There are 3 periodical indexes. They are der Schlüssel, meaning the key. It is a 9-volume work that has a locality index, a subject index, and a surname index. The surname index indexes only the surnames that appear in the title of an article. If an article included an extracted copy of a town census record, the names in the census would not be included in the surname index. Next one is the Familiengeschichtliche Quellen, or family history sources. It is a 19-volume work. It has only a surname index, but it indexes every surname in every article and resource. The third one is the Quellenschau für Familienforscher, a show of sources for family researchers. These are the 3 gray volumes shown in this slide and outlined in red. This resource has 2 locality indexes. The first is an index of towns. The second one is an index of districts, nobility, and other areas. It also has a subject and a surname index. The use of these 3 indexes is also explained in the lectures. Surname sources. There are several surname books. The one that is most detailed and complete is the 2-volume work titled Etymologische Wörterbuch der deutschen Familiennamen, or the Etymology Dictionary of German Surnames. This title page shows that this 2-volume work was published between 1957 and 1960. This example shows an individual by the name of Friedrich Holzschuh or Holzschuher, whose surname was first recorded in 1376 in the city of Nuremberg, Bavaria. It also shows an individual in 1324 by the name of Heinrich of Holzschuher from Mainz, Hessen. The abbreviation of the sources for each of these is VDR, Volume 2, page 660, for Friedrich Holzschuher or Schuher, and BHU, Volume 5, page 244, for Heinrich Holzschuher. In the front of the volume, the source abbreviations are listed alphabetically, giving the complete information for each source. The next topic is on German terminology, beginning with abbreviations. The next resource is Der Schlüssel zu alten und neuen Abkürzungen. Translated, it means a key to old and new abbreviations. The title page indicates it covers from the late Middle Ages to the present. This section of the book includes the printed Latin abbreviations. The next section of the book includes printed German Gothic Fraktur abbreviations. The last section of the book includes a Latin script abbreviation. If you see the abbreviation LPR period or L period PR period written in a death entry, it means that a Leichenpredigt or funeral sermon was given. Many of these were published. This copy of a funeral sermon shows the type of information that may be found in a printed funeral sermon. It is for a 17-month-old child by the name of Wilhelm Moritz Haken. It gives the name of his father and mother, the names of his father's father and mother, the names of the mother's father and mother, the names of the father's grandfather and grandmother, and the names of the mother's grandfather and grandmother. There are 4 generations identified in this one document. Next, I want to talk about terminology dictionaries. As you can see from these entries taken from the Family History Library catalog, there are many German dictionaries of various subjects. The dictionaries that we will talk about include antiquated terms. This is the Deutsches Rechtswörterbuch. It's a 10-volume online dictionary that includes Old German legal terms, including occupations. It is not a German English dictionary, so you may need to use a German English dictionary to use it. If you were searching an old church record and an entry identified the ancestor's occupation as a damer, this dictionary indicates that a damer was a Pflasterarbeiter, which, in checking a German English dictionary, was a street worker. As you get back into the mid to early 1700s and earlier, ministers often identified only the father's name in a christening record. When there are 2 or more fathers with the same given name, having children being christened about the same time, their occupation may be the only way of identifying which children belong to each family. This is a marriage record. The months of Brachmonat and Heumonat are listed. This 6-volume work is called Duden, das große Wörterbuch der deutschen Sprache, or Duden, a large dictionary of German language. Brachmonat is a form of the term Brachet that is listed in Duden, where it says that it's a veraltet, meaning antiquated or archaic term for the month of June. The Brachmonat and Heumonat, these 2 months pertain to the Old Middle High German calendar, which was often used in the early church record. This is the Deutsches Wörterbuch, a German German dictionary. It is a 33-volume work. The authors of this dictionary were Wilhelm and Jacob Grimm. The dictionary can be accessed online by clicking the following website. On this web page, we'll click on the blue tab to make a search. Next, we'll type in the word you want to search for. And here I have entered the word Bergpfleger, and then we'll click enter. The Grimm's dictionary is not a German English dictionary. The entry shows that the word Bergpfleger is a Schichtmeister. By searching the word Schichtmeister in a German English dictionary, it says that it is an overseer or a foreman of those who worked in a mine. Sometimes you come across a record where the titles describe the record as meaning one thing, but the record turns out to mean something else. This is a Türkensteuer, or a Turkish tax, but it was not a tax on Turks. It was a tax on the German people to defend against a Turkish invasion. This book is about the Turkish tax levied on the people in the Duchy of Prussia in 1540. This record is called a Fräuleinsteuer. The literal translation is a tax on unmarried women. And that's how a German dictionary actually defined it. This term was found in this nobility tax record. It states that the Graf, or Count, and Herrn, Lord, the Count and Lord of Wernigerode, levied a tax on 12 September 1670. To know the actual meaning of Fräuleinsteuer, we need to use the Hilfswörterbuch für Historiker, or the Help Dictionary for Historians. It covers from the Middle Ages to the present. In looking up Fräuleinsteuer, there is a reference to a Prinzessinnensteuer, a princess tax. When we look up Prinzessinnensteuer, it shows that it was not only called a Prinzessinnensteuer and a Fräuleinsteuer, but also a Brautsteuer, or a bride tax. The document says that it is a außerordentliche Steuer, a special tax, and that it occurred by Verheiratung der Tochter des Landesherrn, by the marriage of the daughter of the manor lord. It said it was von allen Untertanen erhoben, levied on all of his serfs. So it shows that the manor lord levied a tax on his serfs to provide a dowry for his daughter. This Central European genealogical terminology book by Jared Zeus is especially important in Swiss research. In this document, you have 2 months whose names are different than the standard months. The first is called Wintermonat, and the second is Wolfmonat. Wintermonat is November, and Wolfmonat is December. As winter got worse, wolves came closer to the towns to find food. Ernst Thode's German-English Genealogical Dictionary is one of the best and most thorough German dictionaries, English dictionaries. The term Frogner is not listed in every German-English dictionary. In Thode's book, the word Frogner is listed as an antiquated term for merchant. The last resource I will talk about is Latein 2 for den Zippenforscher, or Latin 2 for lineage or family researchers. This resource is very helpful when dealing with Latin in vital church and other records. It is a Latin-German dictionary. It includes a section on Latin forms of German surnames. This shows that Aldeander is the Latin form of the surname Hoffmann. The next section is on Latin forms of German occupations. Here it shows that Sartor is the Latin name for the occupation of Schneider, which is tailor in English. The last section is on Latin forms of German localities. This shows that Hamela is the Latin locality name for Hameln, where the Pied Piper was from. This concludes the second lecture in the series. The next lecture will be on understanding German records and jurisdictions.
All right, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you will join us for our next webinar, which is on Thursday, September 15th with Maureen Brady. She will be giving a presentation entitled The Family History Research Circle, the Internet Family Search Family History Centers, Libraries, and On-Site Research. A recording of this webinar will be made available next week. You can view that on our YouTube channel or on our website. If you have any comments or questions, you can always email us at fhl_webinars@byu.edu or follow Facebook and Twitter. Thank you and have a wonderful week.